Hello and welcome everybody. Welcome to the February 2025 ONINO monthly community update. As always, we're going to wait a couple minutes to give everyone the opportunity to join, and we will be starting soon. So lean back, enjoy the music, and we will be right back. So welcome everybody. As always, we're going to give everyone a couple of minutes to join. So lean back, enjoy the beautiful music, and we will be right back. So, hello everybody. I'm just gonna lower the music and we can start right away. So, thank you very much for joining the ONINO 2025 February community update. This month, we will be jumping in a couple topics. The first is events. Then we're going to talk about the ONINO ecosystem, just give you a little roundup around how it works and what we're planning. Just a little refresher. We've taken this from the start to a second point. Then an update to the tokenization platform, a blockchain update, general, and question time. And without further ado, let's jump right in. So our first topic are events, and we just want to give you a little roundup around and about upcoming events. So this February, we are going to be visiting the NFT Paris. It's going to be on February 13 and 14. And this is a great event. We were at the Paris Blockchain Week last year, and everyone pointed us to NFT Paris. And although it sounds like it, it's not around NFTs, it's around everything blockchain, crypto, tokens. There is even an RWA Paris stand, or stand, like kind of a leg. It's an almost its own conference. And people all around the world going to Paris. We're going to be there with two people. Justin and I are going to be there because at the same time, there is the Road to Start Summit where Lucas is going to be. And this is a preparation to another conference, the Start Summit we were at last year. And we're going to visit it again this year. It's going to be an event in Stuttgart. There's going to be startups pitching. There is going to be ecosystem, networking, and all the things you can accept. So this is going to be really cool. Then in March is going to be one of maybe the biggest tech conference. I think it is the biggest tech conference, and it is also the biggest conference for us. We're going to be visiting the South by Southwest, the SXSW in Texas, USA. And before that, as we're part of the German delegation, which means we are part of Germany's best startups, chosen from many. And we have been selected to be able to join the German delegation. And there is going to be a program before the South by Southwest where we will be touring the Silicon Valley for 2 days. So German delegation, ONINO is going to be there touring the Silicon Valley before the conference in Texas. So that's going to be pretty cool. The conference in Texas itself is amazing. People from all around the world. I think they say it's the biggest tech conference in the world, and I think you can believe it is so. It's pretty amazing to bring ONINO outside of German and European borders, to bring it overseas, and to have so many different connections with so many different people. So this conference and being part of the German delegation is a huge honor for us, and I think it's going to be very impactful. After that, we're going to be visiting the Token 2049 in Dubai in April, and then there's going to be many more, but I think the slide doesn't need to be too long. So this is a little roundup for you around the events and what's happening. So we also want to talk about the ONINO ecosystem this time. And we've been talking about it for pretty often. I think you have seen this slide often, but we have been just jumping over it. And we've seen that sometimes there is kind of a misunderstanding or questions around what does the ONINO blockchain do? How does the developer platform jump into it? What does the tokenized financing or tokenization platform do? And we wanted to dive a little deeper this time to give you the current status and to give you the plan, to give you a deep understanding of how everything is going to work. So essentially, right from the beginning, we said that we want to have and create benefit using blockchain technology and create value with it. So this pretty easily means we need a base layer technology, which is the ONINO blockchain. And as every base layer technology, and we're going to jump right into that later, you don't really talk about base tech. If you use an application, you talk about the benefits and features. You don't talk about the SQL server it runs on, or whatever server it may be. Maybe not SQL, sorry, Kai's gonna kill me. But many different server types and all those things. It's just technical stuff that you don't really recognize, but it's inherently important to be there. So we build it, it is super important, but we just don't really talk about it too much because it is just technical stuff that normally stays behind the desk. Then on top of that, we have built different applications. One is the developer platform, still very tailored to developers, but one step above it, where we enable developers and help them to very easily, with templates, with AI, APIs, easy deployment, and many, many more features, where we enable developers to make development on the blockchain easier. And then as a real application on the blockchain, we have the ONINO tokenized financing platform or tokenization platform, where we enable anyone to create tokens that reference things like utility tokens, which are tokens in and of itself, or reference things like loans and company shares, and in essence, help companies finance things. It can be a project, it can be the company itself, they can even build marketplaces around it, and this tokenization platform takes care of all of it. It goes from A to Z, from investor onboarding by logging in with Google or your wallet, up till the end where investors pay and have tokens in their wallets and the associated company shares, for example, and also handles all the steps in between, which are registers, which are licenses that you need to be able to emit those financial assets, and so on and so on and so on. So this really takes care of the whole process from A to Z, and this is a product that we're talking about. So if you today visit the ONINO.io website, this is what you're going to see, because this is a product that we're selling. And just because you don't see the developer platform, the blockchain, doesn't mean that they're not there. It's just like with every other base technology, it's kind of underground, so you don't see it too much. Just to give you an understanding of what we do, the ONINO ecosystem consists of all of those. It's just that the one we're out there and screaming with and talking about are the products that people are paying for. So, rambling a lot and talking about those products that people are telling about, are going to pay for. We have two instances of the ONINO tokenization platform. One is the main ONINO platform that you see on the left side, which you can imagine as a central hub, a little like Kickstarter, but for tokenization. It is one platform where people can list their projects on, and there's going to be many investors listed on there. It can be you and me, for example, or many more. And many projects that are going to be listing there that are looking for capital. for multiple different things. It can be real estate, it can be startups, it can be renewable energies, what we're seeing a lot, solar, wind, and battery storages, for example. But essentially, sky is the limit. There's many possibilities. And the other thing is that companies approach us that do not just want to list one asset, but they want to list multiple assets. And they want to do this on their brand. And for this, we have the white label platform, where we essentially take this whole platform, adapt their design, and let them host it on their website. And this makes sense for if, for example, you have a company group where you will have multiple companies going in and out and being funded in multiple projects. It can be something like a tokenization financing platform for solar in Germany, where one company has multiple different solar projects that they want to fund through Germany, and so on and so on. So multiple different things. So the ONINO platform comes in two facets. One is the ONINO platform, where companies list their project, or a white label platform where companies get the whole platform. So this has been a little jump into the ONINO ecosystem, how those platforms work, and the rest is going to be continued by Kai, who is going to explain the role of the ONINO mainnet in the ecosystem.
Thank you very much, Alex. So first of all, also a warm welcome from my side. And yeah, following up on what Alex told you guys before, here's a bit more technical explanation from my perspective, basically to give you a more technical overview about especially the role of the ONINO mainnet within our ecosystem. And to better understand that, we just take one step back and just have a quick overview on actually what are the different layers in a technical project, right? From the really beginning, from the really bottom to the really top. And at the first level, we always have the level of user interaction, which is what you guys are, as end users, mostly experiencing. In Web 2, as well as in Web 3, these are basically web applications users can normally access, right? And in the case of the ONINO ecosystem, on this level, we have the new tokenization platform that allows everybody to easily tokenize assets and buy tokenized assets, right? Then we also have a second layer, the layer of, I always call it like the authentication and business logic layer. In classical Web 2 applications, this is handled by backends and API endpoints mostly. In Web 3, all of this has been replaced by not having the need for servers anymore. We have just smart contracts, so to say. Then we have another level of data management, which is in a traditional Web 2 setting, always represented by classical databases, such as SQL databases. So Alex, good call, actually. Not going to rip your head off. And in Web 3, this has also been replaced by the notion of smart contracts, which are not only handling business logic, but are also serving as data storages on the blockchain, so to say. And this aspect, so to say, of the technical layer stack is covered by the ONINO developer platform, which makes basically developing smart contracts, right, that serve as the business logic and data storage for Web3 applications as easy and accessible as possible. And then we have the lowest layer in the whole diagram, so to say, which is the infrastructure layer, right? So in a classical Web 2 scenario, this is just a Linux server that you are hosting in your basement, for example, or also an AWS server you might be hosting, or any other cloud provider. And in a Web 3 setting, this is entirely replaced by the blockchain, right? And in this case, in our ONINO ecosystem, this is covered by the ONINO mainnet, right? And with that, we can jump over to the next slide. So just to sum it up, we can basically conclude the ONINO mainnet is actually, when we want to look at its role in your ecosystem, it serves as the underlying infrastructure technology for our entire ecosystem, right? So just like, for example, AWS or Google Cloud or any other cloud provider serves as the foundation for a traditional Web 2 application that runs on a single server. This is basically in the ONINO ecosystem replaced by the ONINO mainnet, which serves as a global network infrastructure to fuel the entire ecosystem, so to say, right? So just to be clear about the role of the ONINO mainnet in the ecosystem, it's our infrastructure technology that should not primarily address end customers and users, basically like everyday users, but it's targeted towards developers, right, who can and want to build any blockchain-based applications they want on it. And additionally, another role of the ONINO mainnet within our ecosystem, we will also run a fully licensed registers for tokenized securities on the ONINO mainnet in the future. So it will also kind of serve as the backbone technology for tokenization with ONINO in our ecosystem. So this is what a rather technical overview again, and I will now pass the ball finally to Lucas, who will give you a regulatory perspective on the ONINO ecosystem.
Yes, thank you, Kai and Alex. The final part that holds everything together is something that is not kind of promoted or part of one product, but it's embedded into everything we do. And that is regulation in itself. And we see regulation as the backbone of tokenization. As you know, everything we do is with regulation in mind. And the same way we see the blockchain space maturing and seeing where it going to a place where we've anticipated it to be, we are working on standardizing these things as best as possible. What we want to establish ONINO's ecosystem as is the go-to place for tokenized securities and real-world asset tokenization in general. And this can only be enabled by regulatory standards and standardization of the assets. In simple, there are 3 steps to this. The first thing is, of course, by having a base layer of understanding the needs on the one hand of asset issuers and then also investors and then the regulators, we can standardize the asset that we want to tokenize. This is really important to have really lean processes on the legal side and also have the technological feasibility, which is our product, the tokenization platform, to issue these things at a low cost and high frequency. The second step is where our blockchain comes in, is operating in a securities register and bringing this on-chain. This is something that is completely off-chain nowadays. And we are working on bringing all of this on-chain, working on bringing this into the ONINO ecosystem so that the blockchain can actually fulfill its purpose as the base layer for a go-to ecosystem. And the third step is where the real magic happens, is when you can make everything as seamless as possible, which needs the integration of financial services and financial service providers so that the onboarding to the blockchain is easy, the offboarding is easy. Anyone that can operate a bank account can easily operate a blockchain wallet. And all these things must be as convenient as possible because, like Alex said, and that's something that we really want to emphasize, the user should not know he's using blockchain. The user should only see what brings value. And this is something that will only fully flourish when all the things we are talking about go together and create a working machine that in itself will be the ONINO ecosystem.
All right, thank you very much, Lucas. And I think we are gonna proceed with the regular monthly tokenization platform update. So as always, we just want to give you a quick glimpse behind the scenes, what is going on in the development of our tokenization platform, and tell you a bit more on what happened actually the last month in January. So some of you may have seen it already in our monthly product update post. This may have a bit of an overlap with the community update, just so you're not wondering, because they have a different cycle where they are released. But yeah, just gonna keep it short and give everyone a quick update and glimpse behind the scenes. So first of all, we have now fully implemented a so-called organizations-based access control system. That sounds complicated actually, but it's actually quite easy. You can just imagine this as the foundation that will enable us in the future to operate one single central ONINO tokenization platform that is able to host tokenization projects from different issuers, from different companies in one single place. Because we now have this notion of organizations on the platform and can basically now, you can imagine like that, clearly separate the workspaces of the different organizations so they can only manage and coordinate the tokenization projects of their own organizations. And we can all host this in one central place, even though we have tokenization projects from different issuers. Then second, the front-end integration of our partner CashLink and the API gateway we built around them is now also fully completed. Of course, we have also put the focus on maximum user-friendliness and to make the entire process of issuing tokenized securities as well as purchasing them as streamlined and smooth and easy and hassle-free as possible. And what we have also done for the sake of the convenience of our users is that we have fully implemented a login with Google functionality to simply reduce the friction during the onboarding process and make it basically as easy as possible for everyone to get started with tokenization on our platform. And this is also actually where I would have a call to you, our community. So please just let us know which are the login with social providers that you guys use and like best. We will soon release a little survey here in Telegram where you can just put in your vote and let us know what you guys prefer and what are your favorite sign-in options. And then we'll basically take that into consideration for our next choices, just to get the feedback from our community and make it as convenient, as easy as possible for you guys. All right, and with that, we can move on to the little outlook, just so you also get a glimpse of what's going on next. So yeah, after we conducted our survey, we're definitely going to add more social logins, as I said before, just to reduce the friction during onboarding, make getting started as easy as possible. Second, we are now going to optimize the platform for different tokenized asset classes, right? So like, as you know, there's different classes of tokenized assets, like for example, any form of tokenized credit, that then requires some parameters like basically the maturity, the interest payments, the payment cycles, and so on. And then there's, for example, tokenized shares, and these in turn require totally other data fields and information than, for example, tokenized credit. So yeah, what we are now focusing on soon is to basically tailor out and carve out and map out the different use cases of tokenized assets and tailor the platform more for the single different cases. And what we're also going to focus on is the implementation of a flexible and also very customizable investor communication system. That means basically if you issue a tokenized security, you have the full flexibility to set automated recurring emails that are being sent to your investors, to send informational newsletters and updates, and basically or inform your investors about upcoming payments and so on and so on. And yeah, with that, we just want to provide a basis for optimal community building and also engagement on the tokenization platform. And yeah, as always, if you have any input, if you have any more questions on what's going on behind the scenes, we're always happy to provide more insights. And if you want to go a bit more into the technical details, you can also always have a look at the ONINO blog, where you find the more in-depth and more technical monthly ONINO product update. Thank you. And with that, I think we can pass the ball back to Lucas for the blockchain update.
Yes, continuing with the update. Last community update, we talked about the open steps or next steps until the release of our mainnet, and we just want to give you a short update on which these are and the progress on those. So in general, we're talking about 4 major things. The update to the Explorer, which you can now currently access at testnet.explorer.onino.io. Of course, only seeing stats and transactions on the testnet. We are currently rewriting the logic in the background so that we can, on the one hand, show the testnet and mainnet stats and have you access the mainnet Explorer in one domain. Then the web wallet, something we will go into more detail, as same as the migration release and the developer platforms update. On the next slide, you can basically just see 4 simple screenshots of these 4 things that we're working on and talking about the progress. The developer platform, it is ready to be shipped with the implementation of the ONINO mainnet. Of course, we are waiting on the release to do so. The web wallet and migration, these are things that have been tested already, and these are things that are working already. We're currently putting the last finishing touches more on the terms of user interface and user experience, so that it's usable and has a look and feel as you know it from potentially other platforms. And we are looking forward to getting you test these things out too as soon as possible. Speaking about the ONINO web wallet, I just want to go a little bit more into detail what it is and how you can imagine using it in the future. In general, it is the gateway to the ONINO mainnet, the gateway for anyone that might not be as tech savvy, that might not have the biggest experience in blockchain usage. He can experience blockchain at its core in terms of sending transactions, validating the network, by using the ONINO web wallet. You can always see your balances, see all your different assets in your wallet. You can send tokens from A to B conveniently without having too much hassle of blockchain wallets and putting an address and having any errors of copy and paste. You can participate in delegated staking. For the newcomers, this is something where you can take part in securing the network by delegating tokens to existing validators. We can also, and something that is weird, this is something we're working on currently, migrate or upgrade your ONI tokens to the mainnet directly in our web wallet. And then last but not least, we are currently working on changes so that we can synchronize with our developer and tokenization platform. But this is still a TBD and something we're working on in the background, but shows the overall vision of our ecosystem where everything is interconnected. And now I will continue by giving over to Kai again, who will go more about the validation and validator nodes.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lucas. So also here, a bit more technical update on the blockchain side of things. So we've been reached by a lot of questions actually on how the whole validator node situation is in the upcoming mainnet, basically around the structure of nodes, how they will be working, how you can apply for a validator. So yeah, we thought we'd just make a quick deep dive on this and outline the process. Don't worry if you don't understand it all at once, basically, right now. And we know it's a lot of information to intake. We will also pin this information somewhere in a Telegram group so you can easily find it later on. So yeah, first of all, just to lay the groundwork, ONINO mainnet will at first be launched with nodes hosted by ONINO, as well as nodes hosted by several trusted IT partners of us. And then over time, we will add more and more selected external validators over time, just to expand the decentralization level gradually, while still ensuring the network stability and ensuring we have enough trusted partners to keep the network running stable, right? Then second, now, if you want to join as a validator, the first condition is basically that you have at least 35,000 ONI for staking, right? The maximum is still currently in the last calculation and discussions, but we are currently planning with 500K maximum, including delegations. Then next, to actually start your application or the process of becoming a mainnet validator, we have created a little form that you find here, ONINO.io/validators. We will also send the link into the group later on. It's basically just a quick form so we can get to know you better, can get an estimate of your experience levels and basically what your plans as a validator are. Yeah, if basically we accept your application here, then it's important to know that for all regulators need to complete an identity verification that just has regulatory compliance purposes. We are just required to validate all validators, finally, due to German regulations. Then as soon as the application is now completed and the identity verification is also passed, we will then provide you with the necessary setup instructions on how to run your node, and we will also guide you through the entire process. Yeah, and since this has also been requested, we don't want to get too technical here, but some people also ask for technical requirements. So what is basically the optimal condition and server setup to run your node is a classical Ubuntu Linux server with at least, and that is important, at least 4 virtual CPUs, at least 16 GB of RAM, and at least 256 GB of SSD storage. This corresponds, for example, to an AWS T2 extra large instance, in case you want to look it up. Yeah, basically where and how you run this node and your node server, so to say, is actually quite irrelevant. You can, of course, host your validator node on a fully self-hosted bare metal server if you are capable of doing so and you would want to do that. Or you can also use any common cloud provider, like, for example, AWS, Google Cloud, or also DigitalOcean, which is also the recommended way of basically hosting your validator node. From our side, just because the setup is a lot easier, basically, and you have a lot higher uptimes, mostly than with a self-hosted server. Yeah, as I said, we will also pin this information visibly in the Telegram group. We're also going to add it to our docs later on. And if you have any more questions on that, feel free to shoot them at us. We're going to answer them as soon as possible. And I think with that, enough of the technical stuff. Now I will just roll the ball back to Lucas, who has a general information for you guys.
Yes. Speaking of general, these are just things that we've picked up and our mods were so kind to bring back to us. And there were just 3 major things that stood out to us that we wanted to address too. First of all, please keep sharing the feedback, keep sharing it publicly in the chat, so that if we don't see it, our moderators can directly forward it to us and we can address these things, as of course we can't see anything, but we try to improve on every front possible. Regarding the feedback, we have been actually in talks with CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko, because we've also noticed that some of the information is not displayed correctly. For example, the project information and the information about what ONINO does is not displayed correctly, and some metrics have recently just been updated. For example, we've been through the verification with CoinMarketCap in terms of supply. This is not 100% true, but this is something we're working on and looking to also update in any invalid contract IDs or other information that it needs to be updated. Bear with us. These things are sometimes not as fast and quick as one would like, and they are not so responsive, but we've seen your criticism and feedback and we'll address it. Then the last question we've also seen is about one of our recent additions to our advisors, Alexander Reif, a really great person, first of all, but also really, really great businessman and someone with a huge experience in the banking and financial sector. And the questions were, how exactly does this persona help us improve and how we work together? So essentially, there are 2 main things that we achieve from this advisory. On the one hand, we know more about what things we need to provide, what things we need to build, and how we need to build them into our tokenization platform and whole blockchain ecosystem to address a whole new market for us, which is the financial service sector and the banking sector. On a side note, this is the sector that will adopt blockchain potentially the most in the future. And then on the other hand, the vast amount of contacts Alexander Reif has achieved in his long career in this industry is something that we are now leveraging one by one to increase our foothold and kind of strengthen our standing in that front, so that we can leverage this and build out our partner and client base further and further. And these are the things that we're working with him on since we just spoke about it today. I believe it was 2 years, and it's picking up speed now, just to say the least. And I guess now we can go on to the last section, which Alex will kindly present.
Exactly. Thank you, Lucas. Yeah, so this is almost the end again. This is the time where you can ask questions anywhere where you're listening. We will be screening YouTube, we will be screening Twitter or X, and we will be screening Telegram. So feel free to put in the questions in the chat, and then we will answer them in written form, just to have it, for the ones that are asking questions right away where they are. So if you have been listening and you have any questions, or if you have any questions anytime, doesn't need to be right now, feel free to put them in the chat and we will do our best to answer them in a timely manner. With this, thank you very much for listening. This has been the February 2025, sorry. Time's flying. We've been doing 22 as well. February 2025 community update from ONINO. And with this, over and out, and see and hear you next time.
Thank you all very much for joining. Have a wonderful evening and see you soon.
Have a great evening, everyone. See you next time.